The wind whipped across the vast, misty expanse of the Somerset Levels, a British nature reserve known for its wide skies and hidden wetlands. It was late autumn, and a sense of quiet wonder hung in the air. Dr. Eleanor Finch, a dedicated wildlife biologist, was here to study the migratory birds. She spent her days tracking their movements, often alone, surrounded by the rustling reeds and the cries of wildfowl. Eleanor was a scientist, trained to observe facts and patterns. She believed in data, in what she could measure and record. Yet, lately, something felt different in the reserve. A series of strange events had begun. Small groups of geese, usually very orderly, had been found confused and wandering far from their flock. They seemed to have lost their way. Then, a rare otter, a creature of habit, had suddenly abandoned its usual hunting grounds, moving to a part of the reserve it never visited. It was highly unusual behavior. Even the ancient oak tree near Eleanor's research cabin, a landmark for the local wildlife, seemed to carry a strange stillness, its leaves rustling with an odd, almost warning sound. Eleanor, a woman of logic, tried to find a scientific reason. Was it a new predator? A change in the water quality? But her instruments showed nothing out of the ordinary. A feeling of suspense grew. It wasn't fear, but a puzzling mystery that nagged at her. The animals seemed uneasy, but the cause remained hidden. She often walked by a hidden pond where her old friend, a wise heron named Greyfeather, usually stood motionless. But even Greyfeather seemed jumpy, watching the sky with extra care. One cold evening, sitting by her warm stove, Eleanor found herself thinking of her grandmother. Her grandmother, a kind and simple woman, had always spoken of God's mercy. She remembered a core verse from the Quran that her grandmother often recited, a verse revealed by God. The entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Eleanor, the scientist, had always focused on the how. Now she started to think about the why. Why was there such delicate balance in nature? Why did things so often work out? She realized the verse was a powerful reminder of God's immense kindness to all His creation. The entirely merciful meant God's mercy covered everything, all living things. And the especially merciful meant God's mercy was even more special for those who truly turned to Him and lived according to His wisdom. This new way of thinking changed how Eleanor looked at the strange happenings. Instead of just looking for a threat, she started looking for a larger truth, a bigger plan. She decided to spend a silent night observing from a high hide, a hidden place to watch animals. The air was cold, the moon full. As hours passed, a faint rhythmic sound began to drift across the wetlands. It was a low thrumming, almost like a giant heartbeat, coming from a very specific part of the reserve. It was not a natural sound. It was mechanical, but very soft, almost hidden. Eleanor's scientific mind clicked into gear. This was the cause of the animal's fear. She followed the sound carefully, moving through the thick reeds. She found a small, hidden pump station used to manage water levels, but it was old and faulty. The pump was working, but unevenly, sending out low vibrations through the ground and water. These subtle vibrations were scaring the sensitive animals. The geese were confused by the vibrating ground. The otter had moved because its usual hunting spots were being disturbed. Even the oak tree's roots felt the strange tremors. It wasn't a malicious force. It was simply an old, faulty machine, unnoticed by humans, but felt deeply by the animals. The mystery was a technical fault, not a dark secret. Eleanor immediately reported her findings. The pump was repaired, and soon the wetlands returned to their natural, calm rhythm. The animals slowly came back to their usual routines. The geese settled back into their flocks. The otter returned to its favorite spots, and Greyfeather the heron stood still and peaceful by the pond again. Eleanor had solved the mystery. But more than that, she had learned a deeper lesson. It wasn't just about the facts. It was about the underlying care in the world. She saw the mercy of God in how the animals communicated their distress, in how she was guided to find the hidden cause, and in the swift return to balance. The natural world, with all its delicate systems, was a constant display of God's profound mercy and careful design, even in the smallest details. Eleanor, the scientist, found her understanding of the world broadened. She continued her research, but now with a quiet awe for the unseen forces of care and provision. And so, she truly understood the depth of the words from God in the Quran, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. She saw his endless kindness woven into the very fabric of the world, guiding and caring for every creature.